Hi guys, this is Warner Swordsman here, back with another video, and we're just gonna get right into it. Like, subscribe, comment. I'm gonna hear you guys comment. Please like as well the video. But there's no further ado. Let's get right into the video. So basically, we start off with Naruto, and he's making his way over to Jiraiya, where he told him to meet him, which was at a pool, I guess. Now notice, Naruto is still a 12-year-old. He hasn't gone on a 3-year training trip yet. Now, Naruto decides to make his way over to the what is it called again? To the ooh, I'm having a mental struggle here. To the hot spring. Sorry, I had a mental struggle there. Just a mental burp or fart, I guess. So, basically, Naruto meets him at the springs, and he finds his pervy sage looking over the women's kind of wall to prevent men from looking at them. And Naruto says, "What are you doing, pervy sage?" And he falls down into the water, but catches himself by using chakra feet. Now, Naruto said this is going to be difficult because Naruto can't exactly use chakra, but I guess that he's able to replicate chakra a little. So he says, "Are you ready for the 3-year training trip?" And he says, "Yeah, I'm ready." And Naruto goes ahead and they start their big journey. Now, although the 3-year training trip was kind of a time skip. I'm just gonna tell you guys how it went because the fact that he has ki might make you guys wonder how it went. So, basically, the first year, Naruto was learning about how to master a certain jutsu, a new jutsu that he was taught. Now, Naruto can replicate everything with this ki, because ki originates from imagination. If you can imagine something, you can turn it into something. Basically, if you imagine an element or can master that element, you're able to master and rank up in jutsu or jutsu. Yeah, I'm just gonna still call it jutsu. Now, basically, Naruto is copying every single jutsu, and when he tries to replicate the Rasengan, he uses it by replicating wind style and putting it into his Rasengan, but this was unexpectedly way stronger than normal. His strength was incredibly increased. Not only did using the Rasengan make the Rasengan itself stronger, but it made him stronger. Kind of like every single time he used it, he got a boost. Now, Naruto would go on nighttime trips, and he'd use his swords to carve kind of like spikes onto the ground. Sorry, guys. I have a common cold, so I might sound a little different because I have my nose congested as well. Now, he put these spikes down on the floor, and he'd kind of sleep on them, and he'd end up waking up with a new amount of defense with ki, to the point where ki materialized itself into a cloak, I guess. Now, this cloak was kind of like a yin and yang, black and white. Kind of like a, let's say, you know how Goku has like that ki aura that he uses like when he powers up? Basically like that. But no, I'm not using it as a reference because he also has it black. If you want, if you think I'm stealing the content from there, I can change it later. But Naruto, this amount of defense, he told Jiraiya to use his Rasengan against him. And Jiraiya looked at Naruto puzzled because he knows that his Rasengan is incredibly powerful. And Naruto, slowly by time, he told Jiraiya to continue using these Rasengans on his stomach. But the first time, Naruto took a pretty hard Rasengan to the stomach. But he was able to survive it without major damage. Now, Naruto does this every single night and makes sure to come back to bed or kind of like wake himself up mentally so he could come back to bed so Jiraiya wouldn't suspect anything of Naruto. But Naruto decides to do something different. Now, Naruto will try to evolve his Rasengan to a different amount of level. Now, Naruto has a professional way of using Genjutsu. No, yeah, using Genjutsu without the Sharingan. Now, over time, Naruto's eyes start changing. And he doesn't know how, because pretty sure when Master gave him Ki, he lost all his chakra. Everything related to chakra was defeated or was replaced in him by Ki. Basically meaning Indra, Ashira, Haguromo, Hamura were taken from him. And not only did that get taken from him, but his Renegan, that supposedly he hasn't trained yet because he doesn't know how to use it, Sharingan and Byakugan do not work. Although he still a hint of chakra still left in him. Sorry, you guys have to hear me cough for a little. Now, Naruto goes ahead and he checks out this chakra, and it seems like his sealing jutsu was still active. From his god crafting seal was still active. Everything that he used to seal, for example, his Sharingan, Byakugan, Renegan, and everything, was still there. But they had to take time to recover. Naruto did not know this, and he's just confused as his eyes start to gruelingly change. He's getting something engraved into his eye, to the point where he needs to be admitted to a hospital. And when he gets up, Jiraiya grabs Naruto by the collar and says, "Show me your Sharingans." He says, "What?" "Show me your Sharingans." And Naruto confused is like, "Well, why would you want to see those?" He's like, "I have a theory." Naruto, fearing the fact that he might know about Ki, he's like, "I can't activate them." And he's like, "I'm sorry, last time I checked you had a Mangekyo. What do you mean you can't activate them?" "I don't know. It's strange, cause I was able to activate them before we came on this trip." And he's like, "Interesting." So he decides to go ahead and train Naruto. Not only in proficient ki control, but as well in kind of like genjutsus or proficiently using items. For example, like swords with special abilities. Now, Naruto still had his kind of mixture between Samehara and his executioner blade. So, he would use this and train every single night. Now, Naruto was taught something from the master. Flashback. So, Naruto learned that it would take him to lift stronger objects to be able to use stronger things or attack stronger. So basically, Naruto was taught by the master to use ki or enter immense amounts of ki into a sword to make it heavier and materialize it without any circumstance. Now, or any drawback, I mean. But there were current conditions to this. To keep this key open, you're going to need to not only produce it with an incredible amount of key, but you're going to need to be able to maintain it. Not only doing this will up your strength, key control, and key damage, it'll also upgrade your key amount, the amount of key you can produce at a moment. And Naruto trained with this, and he was pretty proficient at it. Although he wasn't really training himself as the master did this for him. So Naruto closed his eyes with Samehara, or Executioner Blade, and what should I call it? And you know what, I'm just gonna call it Samehara and Executioner Blade. So he holds it up, basically like, kind of like infusing it with immense amounts of ki. Naruto tries to condense it and materialize it, and he's able to do it, but he slowly runs out of ki faster and faster. Naruto tried this for a few months, and eventually, after 3 weeks, he's able to get the hang of it and able to train for an hour. And he tries for a few more weeks. After a month, he's able to train for a whole day. And basically, what he does next is he condenses more and more and more and more until the point where Naruto, at this point, has the strength of um, the original master. And by adding heavier weight to it, it also makes it kind of like a gravity sword. A sword that he can activate heavier gravity to replicate stronger attacks. Now Naruto decides to try to condense this around his body, and an aura shouts around him. This aura, he can manipulate the aura. Somehow, kind of like if it was kind of like a material of itself, which he could replicate and multiply the more he tried. So Naruto decides to make this cloak around his body, and he would fall asleep with his cloak on. In the morning, he wakes up. He still has the cloak on him, but he hears a knock on the door. He's surprised, but at the same time, he opens the door. Jiraiya is there, and he's confused because I thought he was sleeping. So he decides to let the door open, and he says, "Come inside." He takes a look, and Jiraiya is there. He's like, "Who are you?" He's like, "So, it was pretty dumb idea. I thought Jiraiya would be out." So basically, he de-transforms from Jiraiya's look, and it's Tsunade, and he's like, "Don't you have duties as the Hokage?" He says, "Yes, I know, but I left the clone. I have a bunch of chakra. I can stay here for a few weeks until I have to go back." And he's like, "Well, okay." And she can only produce one clone at a time, but she's fueling herself with ki capsules that regen her ki over time. Basically, so she doesn't run out of chakra. Ki, oh, I meant chakra if I said ki this whole entire time. Now, she's like, "I'm here to train you in strength and healing." He's like, "Oh, alright, what do you gotta show me then?" Naruto sounding all bored and stuff. But Naruto learns that ki is basically just like chakra, just that its power is replicated like an immensing and can be used for all type of things. Although chakra can be, but it has a stronger sense of will and imagination in it. Ki is much more stronger than chakra, but the cost of it was not worth it. Now Naruto, over time, trying to work himself in healing jutsus, he starts with going to the hospital, and Naruto sees all these kids and adults with striking diseases, or not striking, but deadly diseases, deadly injuries. He even saw one that didn't even have a lung and was breathing from a ventilator, or basically like an orb with a bunch of air chakra fueling it, basically giving him a bunch of air to breathe out of, and it normally recharges because they have a key generator. And basically, a key generator is basically a person that uses their key to fuel those air ventilators. Now, Naruto decides to oh, to say, "All right, I'll do it," because originally Naruto didn't want to, for the fact that he just didn't take healing good, I guess. And he says, and she says, "I have a surprise for you." And he says, "What?" Not only will you be learning this, but your friend with kind of like you know how people do those like put up two fingers like they're saying peace, but then like curve them like bunnies and saying like sorry. It says friends. Naruto blushes and says, "Is also learning this." He's like, "What?" He says, "Yeah, I thought she'd be a good healer, so I decided to train her." He's like, "Fine." He says, "Oh, this wasn't up to you. Sorry, man." I guess wasn't up to you. I guess she's all she said. She says, "Okay, what do I need to do?" First thing I want you to do, I want you to spread your chakra around a person. Says, "Okay," and they have a practicing dummy, but this dummy has a leg cut off, and it acts like a normal human. Has all the original intestines as a human and has blood as a human. It's used in, healing training or support class training. And he says, "Okay, what do I do now?" It's like, spread your chakra around him. And Naruto, knowing that he has ki, he's like, this probably okay. Spreads his ki around the dummy, and instantly, ki starts to form, materializing itself and closing the wound. It's like, good, good. That's how you do it. You're natural. But then the ki starts to not only surround him, but it's rebuilding its leg, slowly but surely. And he's like, "What the? This is impossible. Naruto, what are you doing?" And he's like, I don't know myself. I'm as confused as you." He's like, "Naruto, are you able to heal someone to this extent?" And he says, "I guess." Naruto all hyped up about it. But Naruto decides to say, "Well, that should be enough training for today." And he says, "No, Naruto, that's not enough training for today." It's like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "I want you to go to actual patients." It's like, "For what?" "I want to see something. Because you recreated its leg. Because you used the exact same substance that it had. And it basically made out of like a clay, I guess. And you rebuild it with more clay." So it goes ahead and goes up to a normal patient. Now this patient has her hand cut off after going on a mission, and a clan decided that they did not like the fact that she was intruding. So they decided to help her out. You know what I mean? Now, she takes his hand and spreads it all around her body. And her hand starting to rebuild itself. She looks at Naruto as he has his hand on her stomach, and she's blushing, but at the same time, she's amazed on how the hell can this kid do such a thing. And he's like, I don't know. I just really don't. And he's like, I need to go. And he's contemplating how the hell is he doing this? Like, he shouldn't be able to, but he is. And he goes ahead, walks up to her, and she walks up to him. All correct, because originally not only did she have a hand destroyed, but her respiratory system was bad due to smoking. In this in this version, smoking is kind of like smoking chocolate pills. these chakra pills only increase your chakra, but also contaminate and can cause chakra radiation. And chakra radiation is basically like, you know how you can have just so much chakra at one point that it starts to clog up places. So it starts to clog up the respiratory system to the point where you can't breathe, I guess. Naruto seemed to absorb this. He's like, he decides to to use all this chakra into his god crafting skill, and his Sharingans start to appear, and he has kind of like a half Sharingan, and he's like, it can go into the first Tomoe, and he's like, I thought I lost all my chakra. What the? And he goes around healing everybody until the point where he has a full Sharingan in the second Tomoe, and he needs to train himself all over again. Now, basically, the time skip happens, and Naruto heads back to the village, and Ino and Haku both jump at him after the long 3 year awaited reun reunion. I don't know how to call it, but like just a reunion. And he's like, I, and he's like, yes, I know. And the both of them are like, yes, we know. You're basically working for some type of thing to rebuild your clan, I guess. We talked about it after we both learned that in class we said who we liked, and we said the same person, and he's like, oh shit, you must be mad at me, right? And he's like, no, I mean, it's an honorable thing that you want to rebuild your clan. He's like, but don't like one more than other. And he's like, I won't. Hugging both of them and kissing both of them on the forehead. Now Naruto goes ahead and meets Kakashi. Kakashi, sorry, I just as I told you, I have a common cold, so I might have sound different, and I may be coughing like this. Trust me, it hurts. So he decides that Kakashi and them need a re-evaluation, basically a real evaluation about how they should be basically ranked and how powerful they gotten over the trip. Now, at this point, Naruto has the third Tomoe and his Rinnegan is back, but his Byakugan is still in development. It's still almost back, only half-eyed. Now, Naruto decides to use his Sharingan for this fight. Now, basically, Team 7 would be ranked individually. Basically, Kakashi would fight all three of them individually. Basically, Sasuke would fight. No, not Sasuke because he's not in the team anymore. So, I forgot to do this, but they get introduced to a new character before they make their way. And this new character is, well, guessed it, Sai. And Sai bows and with a quiet and and a cold expression makes his way on the line, all facing toward Kakashi. Now he says, I'll evaluate you all three of you at different points and moments. And he's like, okay. And he says, first, Naruto. And he says, wish me luck, guys. And he's like, I hope Mr. Kakashi didn't get any stronger since we fought last time. And Naruto would use his half Byakugan to tell where, what's his name? Where Kakashi is. And Kakashi's nowhere to be seen. There's no chakra points except the 2 chakra points for his both teammates and in the far. Naruto looks up and sees chakra points, but they're like right above him. So Naruto sprints with increased speed because he enhances himself with ki. Remember, this is just a small amount of his ki. He makes his way away from Kakashi as, at the moment when he saw him, 2 kunais were heading for his head. But of course, Kakashi would stop them before hitting Naruto because he didn't want to kill Naruto. That's not what he wanted to do. So Naruto gets barraged by Kakashi when he made a stand. But Kakashi was attacking Naruto, and in his mind, he hit Naruto with a sword. Blood splashing out. He's like, "Why? Why did you? I thought we were trading." When he coughs out blood, I know I did that cough on purpose, but I wanted to make it kind of climb into the story as well. And he coughs up blood, and he falls to the floor. He's like, "Naruto, I didn't mean that." And basically, when he wakes up from the genjutsu, Kakashi's on the floor. But that was just a shadow clone. Because Kakashi can break out a genjutsu, and he noticed it was a genjutsu when he had a sword where he never had. He only had a few kunais. So he released himself out of the genjutsu and used substitution to make a clone go in his place instead, breaking out of the genjutsu and Naruto not being able to notice. Naruto had this supposed Kakashi pinned down on the ground. But Naruto also knew that he broke out of the genjutsu because he can also sense chakra. Now that his chakra is slowly coming back. Now, you guys must want to ask, why is his chakra coming back? And how is his chakra coming back? Now, let me tell you. Now, the God Craft, let me explain the abilities of the God Crafting Seal. The God Crafting Seal has the ability to replicate anything of its chakra that's put in it. Basically like a jar, and it's multiplied to the point where you're able to use whatever you put in it. For example, you could put Kakegenkai in there, and you'll be able to use the Kakegenkai because the chakra that you're supposed to be in there is multiplied to the point where you basically have it permanently. Now, the things he used it on were he used it on Hagoromo, which gave him the current dojutsu he was using, which was the Renegan. At all points and moments, Hagoromo has the Renegan on, but at this point, Renegan let himself get caught in the seal, and this seal not only stuns you, or basically makes you kind of like woozy and stuff, it makes you kind of like feel like you're getting your chakra drained, because that's exactly what's happening. You're getting your chakra drained. Basically, his chakra is refined down to your dojutsu chakra, and the chakra is multiplied inside the supposed jar. If you guys want to know why I'm saying this, I think you guys should remember. But because it's been at least 2 months, I don't think you will. Now, this ground crafting seal, not only did it put dojutsu chakra into it, but it had chakra on its own. Now, the sealing was a very strong sealing. And it didn't use up chakra. Because if it did, Naruto wouldn't have been able to use it to keep his dojutsu as he wanted. He had to continue using it. But it doesn't rely on chakra. So basically, when it took away all his chakra, the God Crafting Seal was kept working. So basically what it did was that it slowly not only multiplied the dojutsu chakra, but it multiplied the chakra in itself. So basically, he gains all his chakra back in a few moments. So, Naruto now has permanent chakra and his ki. So, when he gets back, I will tell you what he learned during this 3-year training trip. Number 1, he learned the Rasen Biju Bomb. Now, because Naruto gained back his chakra, he gained a baby version of Kurama. So basically, now Naruto has, you know how in the movie where Naruto and all the Tail Beasts chakra were drained, and basically had like a little baby version of himself on each user's or Jinchuriki's shoulder. Well, yes, this is basically the Kurama we have here. And now Naruto goes ahead and reveals him, as Naruto is able to reveal and bring out Kurama whenever he wants. Kurama is not able to come out voluntarily because Kurama still is getting back his chakra. But because Kurama, I'm not sure if I remember, but Kurama has near to infinite chakra, I guess. I think I remember, but I'm not sure. So basically, he's able to come back, and he has 1/5 of the chakra he originally had because of his small form. The bigger he grows, the more chakra he is able to use. So basically, Naruto is able to produce two of these Biju bombs. Now, their size is 2 times the size of a normal Rasen Shuriken, which is what this is inspired from, but it's incredibly improved to the point where the size of the explosion is almost fivefold of the original size. And basically, Naruto at this point is able to mix both chakra and ki, basically creating this sort of elemental bluish aura. Now, you know, he doesn't get his hair dipped in Kool-Aid or get dipped in some blue color shade. If you know what I'm referring to Goku's God form and Goku's blue Super Saiyan. But his hair stays the same. The only thing that changes about him is the density, quality, and amount of chakra and ki he has. Basically, with this new amount of ki, he's able to do major things. When he mixes both chakra and ki together, he can only make one Biju bomb. Now, this Biju bomb, it's tenfold of the normal Russian shuriken. But currently, Naruto cannot use it. But he would lose all his ki. Now remember, his ki is regenerating at a fast rate because his ki is life energy. Because it's fueled by his imagination or what he wants in general. And because of this, Naruto is forbidding himself from using this. Because when he used a fraction of his power, he was left comatose for a few weeks until Tsunade brought him back from the coma after Naruto granted her a small amount of ki to bring him back from this coma, which he would normally have stayed in for about 5 or 4 years. Don't make a lot of noise, said Naruto, as he makes his way inside the Hokage's office, going to surprise Tsunade, as he can only stay a few days there, to surprise her of his coming back. And basically, Tsunade is talking to Jiraiya. And things might happen more sooner than ever, so after the reveal, he is hearing over what's happening. But because of Naruto's inability to have bigger ears or enhanced hearing, Naruto hasn't gained that point of his ability yet. So until now, he's only able to use enhanced body physicalizations. So basically now, we have a not only stronger Naruto, but a regained Naruto. But because of this, Indra Ashira, but Horomo's the only one there. Hamura is no longer there. For the point that Hamura is now deceased forever. Naruto took too long to come back with his chakra, and Hamura was no longer able to fuel the God crafting seal. When I mean fuel, I mean he had to be taken something from Hamura, but he never used his God crafting seal on Hamura, basically meaning that Hamura now does not have the power because he normally did not have what either a dojutsu or chakra taken from him. So now he's not like Ashura and Indra or Horomo, but now he's. Well, let me pause for a second. Sorry guys if you heard that scream. If you guys know Spanish, you'll know what it said. But if you don't, that's better. Apparently. So basically, we move on. Naruto cannot hear what they're saying. But Naruto, because he cannot hear them, he enters intrusively. And Jiraiya smiles and says, "Hey Naruto, welcome back." And he looks at Jiraiya like, "What were you two talking about?" And he says, nothing, nothing you need to worry about. We'll talk about this later. Jiraiya looks at Tsunade seriously, with her with a worried look on her face. Now, and she says, did you work on healing like I told you? It's like, yeah. What did you do for the Deadly Hospital? It's like, they don't have any more people there anymore. I've trained them to the point where they're now able to almost recover full limbs now. It's like, you're a blessing to the world of the healing, you know? Oh, let me pause real quick. So basically, Homura is no longer alive. But Naruto decides to go ahead and relax for a little. No more training. He was planning on meeting the master, but it's been 3 years. He can wait. Now Naruto, the next day, wakes up and goes over to the master. Naruto sees the outside, but it's gray, all gray. There's nothing flowered like the master liked to have it. He lived in a peaceful cottage with a lot of plants. All the plants are dead now, and there's no sign of life except the lively but sad cub that usually stands at the porch, but now laying on its back, somewhat asleep, curled up in a ball on the ground at the front entrance. He heard Naruto's footsteps, ready to attack, but sees Naruto and starts whining and biting its feet, biting his clothes, trying to pull him over. And he sees the master, and he seems all old, like he just died like a flower. He got so old to the point where it looked like he was about to die. It was like, Naruto, seems like you're back from your trip. Did it go well? How you doing? Like, I don't care. What happened? It's like, oh, this? Nothing. It's just just a little penny, you know? He's like, tell me what happened, master. And he's like, Naruto, you are my successor. Once I die, all the power that I used to have will now be transported to you. Yeah, those were fake, just so you know. So, Naruto's like, what do you mean die? You can't die. It's only been 3 years. How do you grow this old? When I saw you, you were an old man, but you were just an old man, but not this old. You're like a 90, but before you were like 50. It's like time in this world moves faster. My ki makes me older by the time. But when you developed it, you didn't get the contrabands that it gave me. You'll be able to leave or love and live a good time. You won't have to be stalled by what stalled me. You're like, Master, what is all this? What is all this talk about death and you dying somehow? Like, I don't understand why. Even though you explained it to me, I just don't. I still don't. You're not gonna die on me. Naruto decides to spread his ki around the master's body, trying to bring him back to the normal way he was, condensing around all the ki that's normally taken from his master and absorbing it for his own. He says, Naruto, stop. By doing this, you'll heal me, but you'll kill yourself. And I'd rather succeed in life. And so he grabs Naruto by the head, and he still has that force, but although Naruto trained himself to an immense amount, the master's using ki to condense his muscles stronger. Their fibers are as strong as steel. The force they could output is of a bus. So basically, Naruto has 5 fingers on his head, 5 buses holding his head together. So all the all the ki that Naruto's supposedly absorbing from the master to keep him from dying, he's absorbing it back. He's like, "You're not the only one that was taught this." He's like, "No, let me do this. You don't need to die. I can hold half of it." It's like, "Y'all just die faster." So he gets up with all his strength, enhancing his body to the maximum, and he karate chops Naruto on the neck. He says, he talks to the puppy and says to come over here, and he ties up Naruto. Even though it was really hard, the master helped out. And Naruto now is in chains. Naruto wakes up and tries to break out of them instantly, trying to help the master again. But these chains were heavily infused with ki, to the point where they're almost unbreakable. He's like, "Let me out. I need to help you." And he's like, "No, I'm sorry. You can't. You'll just get yourself killed. Let me out." Or, or he thought of things to threaten the master with, but he couldn't think of anything. I don't think he has anything else to live for. I guess because he's gonna die soon. So Naruto stood there in defeat, crying his tears out. Although his mature body has grown in strength, not to the point where he can defeat these chains. So the pup stands, or not stands, kind of curls itself up on the master's chest. After a few hours, the master passes. Naruto knew he did when the pup started to kind of smack the master in the face, trying to wake him up. Like, no, no, you're not dead. You're just sleeping, right? Smacking him harder and harder every single time, even shocking him, kind of like trying to bring him back to life due to electrical shock. All he saw was his chest pump up and down, and the pup started to cry tears. And as soon as the master died, the key that was holding the chains together disappeared now that it wasn't being taken from a source. Naruto rushes to the master and, knowing he couldn't do anything, the next 2 days he prepares. Right beside his mom and father, he put a gravestone and said, "The master, who was dearly loved by Naruto and I'm gonna call him Hunter. Dearly loved by Naruto and Hunter." So Naruto grabs Hunter, and during his sleep, Hunter woke up hearing roars as Kurama chakra holded itself up to the point where he can manifest himself. And it looks at Naruto and looks at the puppet and says, "Who are you?" Kind of connecting to it with telepathically. Because Naruto sort of kind of teached the beast how to talk telepathically in case they were in a hostile situation. He just thought this funny because the beast would never be in this kind of situation. But because of chakra, Naruto doesn't learn how to telepathically speak from the Kurama talking from his mindscape to him in the normal world. So he had to teach him telepathically. So Naruto still needs to give time for Hamura, Indra, and no, not Hamura, Hakugomo, Indra, and Ashira to rebuild their strength. Because they weren't as strong as they originally were. In Naruto's eyes, he sees them as bandaged up beings like mummies on floorboards. But every single time he gains more chakra, and Kurama's chakra increases. Sorry, guys. So I'll end this like in a few minutes, like when it's like 50 or 48. Now, Naruto, after engraving these things, or actually, no, that's not where I left off. I left off on where Kurama and Hunter met. Now, they both started in a fight, and Naruto heard slashing, not heavy slashing, just like kind of like, you know how you hear like that, like when you have like a claw thing and it rips to like cloth, and you know, and you hear that. I don't know how to replicate the sound. No, Naruto wakes up due to this. Looks as they're both wrong at each other, and he looks and he opens his eyes as they're both battling on their chest, on his chest. And no, Hunter is really small, like the size of Kurama, but Naruto says, "Stop!" Kind of grabbing both of them and says, "You, Kurama, go back." He's like, "Fine, I'll go back." And I'm not, and he doesn't have as deep of as a voice because he's still a child. So then he says, "Hunter, what are you doing?" It's like, he's talking telepathically with him. He's like, he's nothing. He started to growl at me while I was sleeping. And he's like, where were you sleeping? Right next to you. He saw me and started charging at me, punching me while I was asleep. I took offense to it. It's like, huh? Offense to that? Fine. But next time you fight, don't include me in it. He's like, fine. And both of them go to sleep. Naruto goes to sleep. And Naruto wakes up. And we time skip like a month. Yeah, a month. And Naruto starts to think about Sasuke. And Sakura implored that Naruto, his cousin, went after him. Because, of course, he was his cousin. He needed to do it, or he wasn't an unfaithful brother. Because supposedly they killed each other as brothers. So Naruto's like, sure. I try to fight, go find Sasuke. And Naruto gets a lead, and they're all trying to find Orochimaru's hideout. Trying to find where the hell would he be, and where will the hell Orochimaru would be is where Sasuke would be. Now, Naruto had a lead, and he was going by himself, and Shikamaru with him. Now, remember, this isn't gonna be like normal, okay? I'm gonna change up the timeline a little. Now, Naruto. Actually, you know what? I'll be leaving it off here today, guys. Hope you guys liked the video. If you guys did, I hope you like it. Press the like button, subscribe, comment, and share some love down in the comments, you know? And if you have any more recommendations for what ifs, because this is gonna stop. This is gonna end soon, because we're reaching the Pain and Fourth War arc. So we'll get right through it. So the next 2 or 3 videos will be the end of this what if, and I need these next 3 videos will be the main videos that I will check for comments for what if ideas that I should do. So you guys should definitely comment down below. Also, whenever you're watching my videos, I recommend you watching them in the background. Let's say, for me myself, I watch what if videos, kind of like in the background while I'm playing a game. You know, that's what inspired me to start. But don't just like sit there, hear it, like have your screen like in front of you. And if you guys heard any background noise, I'm sorry. My family is being a little obnoxious with these videos, so they don't like that. So yeah, talk to you guys later. Hope you guys liked the video, and have a nice day. Goodbye.